my name is Lauren Hollows from Aniwaya Education Services, and we are back for part 3 of our interview with RTO Works. We have Sally Tansley and Brooke Lombard. We've had some great conversations so far. Make sure you link back to those and watch those first. I'll put them in the links below. But otherwise, I'm going to switch things up a little bit. Sally, you posted an article on LinkedIn the other day that I had a read through. I thought it was really, really interesting. And it was basically in and around kind of humans versus AI, how this is all going to work, are we replacing ourselves, starting that discussion. And obviously that discussion is happening everywhere at the moment. But, can you just kind of give us a little bit of an overview of the article and talk about what prompted you to put that out there?
Yeah. So the issue really came about through intelligence from the resources department as well, because within RTO Works, we have our resources department and we have our consulting department. Obviously, we're working well together all the time, but they are separate divisions. And it was really around quality reviews of assessment tools and some of the occasional feedback we were getting. And so we were sort of finding that perhaps some of the just trying to think how to say this,
automated.
Some of the issues that were being identified because of the automated tool picking up keywords, and because it is an automated tool, they when we sort of the human actually analyzed what the AI tool was finding and what we were finding, there was some discrepancies. Did you want to talk about that more, Brooke?
Well, from the quality review side, yes, I would say, the quality review tool of an AI type tool is beneficial, but the whole point is that a human needs to quality review what the automated quality review tool is doing, because that was the feedback and the findings from our resource department. So, for instance, a couple of units of competency would go through, one of these tools, and a client would say, oh, there's gaps, there's things missing, this tool found it non-compliant. And we spend 2 to 3 hours reviewing the feedback and the data from the automated tool and what the client said, and realize, well, actually, there's not really many issues. The tool has not picked up that we've not used keywords, because keywords are important, but a really good writer won't use keywords. It might say something like, I'm trying to think of an example, like marketing strategy. It might be referred to as something else, or in a clinical setting, a nursing type setting, it might, be specific words in a medical.
Like the units use client, but in nursing we use the word patient.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's a good example. I can't think of one off the top of my head. So when you're using different words, or you've unpacked a unit of competency and you've created it in a way that a modern day learner will understand, you often don't use unit language at all. There'll be the odd unit language peppered through, but a really good tool shouldn't have unit language all the way through it. And that's also a problem, that sometimes even ASQA auditors, we've seen, they say, oh, this isn't covered. Oh, actually, it is covered. Go back to this section and read there. We actually haven't used that word. So when they do their control find and type in the word, sporadic, the word sporadic isn't in the unit. But a different word is used to describe the same thing, occasional. So the AI tools, the whole point, I suppose, what we got across to Sally when she wrote her article, is that it's not, a human is still needed. There's a place for these tools, but you can't rely on these tools to do a quality review of an assessment and then not have a competent and qualified quality reviewer, of human, review what the assessment tool has done. So I suppose the whole, AI thing is, yes, they make our jobs easier, but we can't rely on them because they're not perfect. They miss things.
Which is a good thing, isn't it? Because otherwise, as humans, we'd be redundant.
It's a really interesting one. I know we had this conversation with Asqua a couple of years ago. We were working in telecommunications, and there was like a specific piece of equipment that was referenced in the unit of competency. It was like RJ45 or something like that. But nobody ever referred to that. They only ever referred to it by like the name brand of, like the main supplier to industry. And so all throughout the assessment, it was only referred to as this particular piece of equipment. So having to then like explain that to the ASCA auditor, because they were like, yeah, but the unit says you've got to have this. And we were like, we do, it's this, like, but there was that process to be made. So, it's interesting because some way AI does audit in the same manner that, ASQA audits, with that keyword search. So I it's interesting because we are very conscious of that when we write assessment tools. We always kind of go, oh, like we probably need to include that word, just because otherwise the ASQA auditor is going to go, well, it's not there, even though it's there, and
but it's the whole argument, Lauren, of quality over compliance, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Are we writing for the student, we're writing for the auditor, and it just makes we could go round and round the rabbit hole forever. But that's why I suppose from a regulatory aspect as well, ASQA really needs to say like, oh, it's not non-compliant, but have a discussion with the client or the resource provider and say, I'm a bit worried about whether this has been covered. Could you clarify how this has been covered rather than non-compliant, because if you're not, let's say it's a building construction unit. I don't know anything about building a house. If I'm reviewing a building unit, I'm going to look at it from a unit perspective. I'm not going to look at it from a SME perspective and go, oh, you know what? Yeah, that's a really clever way they've covered that. That makes sense. And they've really unpacked that criteria properly, and they've really, demonstrated that in the writing. So, it's all, if an auditor doesn't have that experience, there needs to be an opportunity that can be explained.
And I don't think it's ever going to be the case. I know that a couple of years ago, there was kind of a proposal put forward of, when ASQA comes out and audits organizations, there should be like an SME that comes out with them and, and does that comment. And then there was massive discussions in and around, but who's going to be the SME and, all of this sort of stuff. But, it's never like, it's just never going to be the case that ASQA is going to have auditors that actually know their stuff in all of these areas. So that discussion component is really, really crucial. And it is about, I guess, us learning how to use these new, how learning the good ways to use AI and the ways that we just can't use AI. And I'm sure that, when you guys are recruiting for new developers and things, just the amount of stuff that will come across your desk where you'll look at and you'll be like,
AI wrote
really?
that.
Really? Like, you're honestly telling me that you wrote this? This is not just like you've put one prompt into the bot for the entire assessment.
Yeah. And that's the thing with AI, it's a useful tool. And the same, systems that people create are great and there's places for them. And we're happy that, innovation is happening, but it is, I suppose we take an educative approach to our clients because it can be time consuming and frustrating as resource providers or consultants to have to respond in the written format and spend, a whole day perhaps writing something about something that's such a non-issue because the auditor didn't understand exactly that this has been covered, but in a way that makes sense to the industry.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, I suppose, one of those
and
things.
There's a couple of things there that I'm thinking as well. So like some training packages and units haven't kept pace with technology. So for example, IT is a good example. Because the pace is rapid, the training package can't keep up with it. So as a developer, you're faced with kind of like, the subject matter expert says, oh, well, we don't do that, so then you kind of got to try and write it in a realistic way, but also try and adhere to the unit as well. So again, these are real issues, and again, things that perhaps you know, automated reviews won't see those kind of deliberations that ones had to have.
Accounting's another good example there as well.
Yes.
You know, when systems used to roll over when they weren't cloud-based and they were all, you know, installed on your desktop. The unit of competency would say, you know, roll over to the new year. That was an actual function that we used to do back in the day. And also like payroll summaries, you know, they're all automatic now. They go straight from Xero to the ATO. You don't have to, you know, email them. Yeah, exactly. But the unit will still talk about, you know, preparing that document, which is not even a function anymore.
Makes it really, really difficult to.
Yeah, I mean, cybersecurity is a massive one that we've been looking at lately, and it's like there's literally just no way that cybersecurity training package is ever going to be able, like, you know, to be up to date unless we whittle it down, you know, massively. You know, to kind of just like high level sort of concepts, because, you know, it's changing daily in relationship to like what you need to do and how you need to do it. And, you know, if you, I mean, to try and keep a trainer current in cybersecurity, unless they're working in industry, you could have been in industry 6 months ago and you're going to be out of date.
And so, to have a, you know, a training package that, you know, might only update in 7 years' time, that's just, you know, I mean,
crazy.
Yeah, that's a whole nother training package update issue, but just one of the many challenges we face, Lauren.
So, okay, let's finish this on a positive note though. So what benefits do you see? What are some of the good things that you're looking forward to seeing AI bring into the vet space over the next couple of years?
For me, I'm excited that it's a tool that can be used to quicken processes. I've never thought that it will be a tool to replace any staff or any job role. But it is a tool. It's like, I use this example. Cloud accounting, Xero, you know, I learned bookkeeping to trial balance back in the day when we had to use T accounts, and you had to manually go through, you know, like written books and, you know, understand how it was all done. And it's like, I suppose, way before my time when the calculator came out. It's something that we have to use, and if we're not using it, we're going to fall behind very, very quickly. But it just makes your job easier, and it just means you can spend more time on other things. So when I say makes your job easier, it could be used for, you know, writing some marketing copy. It could be used to write a clever title for a blog. In the development space, what I'm finding is that it's a very useful tool to flesh out a case study, which can then be turned into an animated video. So it's a terrible tool to write an assessment tool. Like, I don't think that, you know, it should be
provide
used.
like an example of, you know, give me an example of like write a script for how that, you know, for how that role play might roll out, you know, provide a detailed character background for, you know, some of those sorts of things. Fantastic for. Very
good for simulations. Exactly. Like write a client profile for a client who has a physical disability, who, you know, moved to Australia 7 years ago and has, you know, a daughter that is English is her second language. That can create you a beautiful profile that you can then use with students to, you know, really train them in the community services. It's, in my opinion, a terrible tool to use to write learning and assessment. Like, I can't imagine how anybody would think you could just put in unit criteria and boom, an assessment would come out. Like, but to help our jobs, to provide more detail, to quicken up a process, I think it's a fantastic tool. So where do I see it in 5 to 10 years? Things like being able to create images ourselves rather than having to use iStock photos, perhaps. I don't think AI is at the level yet where we can do that. We're getting some really funky pictures when we play around with it. But in the future, we may be able to create diagrams and images and pictures that we really could do in a, you know, a flash, rather than having to create it in a in a
Yeah.
program.
The only place we've had success in that is like really simple things. So for example, when we're writing a recipe, like for hospitality, you know, for like, let's say like a marzipan cake or something like that. If we say, you know, like a pink marzipan cake with green flowers, you know, square, you know, we can get those sorts of really basic sorts of images, which can be hard to find, you know, through some of the iStock sort of things. So that part, yeah, I think that's definitely, I would say at least another 18 to 24 months away. I've seen people that can create amazing things, but personally, I can't figure out Discord and the prompts for the apps well enough yet to get anything that looks realistic. So
I think we'll all learn, but we have to actively learn. I was just at the LearnX conference last month in Melbourne, which was really interesting because it was a lot about AI and VR and how augmented reality is being used for training. And there's some exciting things happening, but from a general level now, I think AI is a great tool as an aid. But yeah, who knows, in 5 to 10 years we might all have like little chatbot publishing assistants who just help us do our job better. That's kind of where I see it going.
100%. All right, so just tell us, where can we find you guys? What's the best way to get in contact with you? For the listeners that have watched this and want to find out more about your new memberships package.
So you can find us online, www.rtoworks.com.au. You can email hello@rtoworks.com.au. Hello is probably the best way that you can get that the customer service team will figure out, who's the best person to support you. LinkedIn, we're on LinkedIn, we're on Facebook as well. And yeah, we'd love it if anyone listening wants to reach out and say hi or has a question, wants to find out about our membership, please get in touch.
Fantastic. All right. Well, thank you very much, guys. As I said, this was lovely to speak to RTO Works. We had Sally Tansley, founder, and chief visionary Brooke Lombard. Thank you so much, guys, for participating today. If you guys want to like, comment, subscribe, please feel free to do so below. You'll also be able to find all of RTO Works contact details, LinkedIn details in the show notes below as well. We hope you guys have enjoyed this. My name is Lauren Hollows, and this was the team at RTO Works.
Thank you
Lauren.
so much. Thanks,
everyone.
Thank you.